Hello my friends, this is umonox, and in today's video I want to give you a quick overview of the differences between the TR-8S and the Digitakt. First of all, I have to admit that I don't think that these two can really be compared, but a couple of you guys were asking me for this, so who am I if I'm not doing it? Yeah, so I will not focus on all the details because this would take too long. I will only focus on things like the patterns and stuff, how this is working, like sounds and selecting samples and everything. I will not go through all the ACB stuff here on the TR-8S because the Digitakt doesn't have this. Okay, so first let's get started with basic sample loading capabilities. So how this is working on the Digitakt, let's first create a new project. So we can start from scratch, and on the TR-8S, let's initialize everything. And this is basically how it works. Go to the utility and initialize it. And I say initialize pattern and kit. So when I'm initializing the pattern, I'm clearing the pattern basically. And when I'm initializing the kit, I do revert to the default sounds that are inside this kit. And these are the TR-808 sounds. Basically, and on the Digitakt we have also these kind of basic sounds inside. Okay, now how do we get samples inside? Now on the Digitakt we have to transfer samples with the transfer app via USB, and on the TR-8S we can use an SD card that is sitting right in the back here. And it is kind of similar in, I first want to quickly show you how this works on the Digitakt. I will go to the samples, we can see all of my samples here. And I don't know, processed in the DAW. Let's, yeah, come on, let's take these. So I take 3 of these and say load the project. Now we are on the project, and I can assign them right here to the various, to the track that I have. So here, I don't know where, yeah, I was on another track, so let's assign it here. Let's assign this one here, and let's assign the snare on this third track. So, okay, do this again. So that's the way it goes. On the TR-8S it is similar. I first go to the utility, and right here under sample I can say import, delete, categorize, optimize and stuff like that. And when I go to import, I can say I want to select a single file, or I want to select a whole folder. When I do single file, I do not have a file on this card itself. It says not found. And when I go to folder, it shows me the folders. Currently I only have 2 folders, and when I go to hit enter, I can say import and hit OK, and it will take a couple of time to import these samples. I will cancel that real quick because I have these samples inside already. But that's the way it goes now. And let's go into instrument play mode again. And the way we assign these samples on the TR-8S is actually pretty straightforward. I first select a track that I have, like the PD. I go to sample, and now I scroll through the list. And while I'm doing it, I can also preview them. Something like this. Let's do a kick here. Now I go to the second track and do basically the same. Clap here and let's find some percussion. I think I had some percussion inside. Yeah, something like this. Okay, and that's already it. Something like this. So that's pretty straightforward and pretty easy. And yeah, now if we basically the patterns are also in the first place, they are also working in the same way. I go to my pattern, my grid edit mode here, and I make sure that I'm on the right track and place these steps. Do the same for another track like this, and I don't know, like this. If I play it back, sounds weird because it doesn't have swing. For me, everything has to have swing. So yeah. We go to this track. Okay. On the TR-8S, up to that point it's pretty much the same. I go to TR-rack, place a step, select another track, and this was the snare drum here, I think, and do the same thing, like this. Sounds a bit weird, actually. Let's quickly change the sample here while we play it. That sounds a bit better. Yeah, and the swing, actually quite easy, turning it up right here, and now we have swing. Okay, so far so easy, but now comes the interesting part. First of all, I want to change these sounds a little over time, and here comes the first difference between the two machines. Now, while the TR-8S has some sort of parameter locking, it's working a little bit differently. It's motion sequences, how we are calling them, and this is a little bit similar to the Elektron machines, where we will go into this. So first, I want to show you how this works on the Digitakt. Now I have these things right here, and I want to go in here and I want to take some parameters and yeah, just doing weird things a little bit. See, this is the first parameter, this is the bitrate reduction. Now I go to the filter and do the second parameter right here. I don't want to do this one, but I want to do this one. And maybe on the amp do something here, like this. Pretty short, and also some reverb. Let's have a listen. Okay, first let's turn this down here. Okay, let's recap this real quick. We have one parameter on this step, 1, 2, 3 on this, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parameters on this. And now it's getting interesting. If we want to do this on the TR-8S, it gets really messy. Because the problem is we can only, first of all, we can only motion sequence these 3 parameters along with these on top here. These 3 parameters can be modified. And the way we, let's first, yeah, that's our percussion sound. So first, where do we actually edit the sound? We do this by selecting a track, hitting Shift and Instrument. And now we have all these different parameters inside. I hope you can see it. It's some decay, coarse tune, rate, spread, bit reduction, and everything. Filter type, and all of this is inside here. We have it. It's actually pretty cool. And reverb and delay send are here, and yeah. Okay, and now come the FX. Along with the LFO, but the LFO is global. I will show you this in a moment. So, let's start easy. Let's take the decay of this one. Let's first modify the decay. Now we would think, if we go to TR-rack, we would think that it could be cool. Let's say I want this thing to be with a longer decay all the time, but on this step I want a shorter decay. Now, like we can do it on the Elektron machines, we can hold that step and turn the decay down. But watch what happens now. First, also make sure motion sequences are on, so it reads this data. Let's have a listen what happens. Do you hear this? So this is what I mean. Whenever we change something on a per step basis with that motion sequence, this parameter is kept the way it is throughout the sequence until another parameter change comes up. So just to make this thing shorter, we also have to make these things longer again. And this is the most major drawback, and this is basically how it worked on the Electribes, at least on the Electribe EMX that I had back then. It was the same thing. Let's have a listen now. So we have to have parameter changes. Once we dial in any parameter change, we have to have these parameter changes on each and every step that we've changed, that is inside the sequence. And this is a little bit of an issue. And next up are the things, how can we change things like bit reduction or something like this. And for this, we need these control parameters. And these can be assigned to one parameter and one parameter only. And the way we do it is actually pretty easy again. I just hold Control Select and dial on this thing. And now we can scroll through the list of all the available parameters for that particular track. And there are a couple, as you can see. So yeah, these are the things inside here. Let's actually go to our bit reduction now. And this is already assigned now. I can turn it down. But the same thing, like before, applies here as well. So let's say I want to have no bit reduction here and no bit reduction here, but I want to have bit reduction here. Let's see what happens. It's the same principle like before. You will hear it. See this? So I have to turn it down on these again, and now it's working. Okay, so far so good, but what if I want to do something more complex? What if I want to change a little bit more of that sound? So I go to Shift, Instrument again, and scroll through the list. Yeah, let's say I do the filtering. We have a filter decay set, filter attack, filter decay, filter envelope. And now I hit Enter to edit that value, and I dial on this value. And when I hold Shift, I can dial to a much broader degree. So let's bring that decay in. The filter envelope in. I then have to hit Enter again so that I'm again in the parameter select mode, and I choose let's see, a different filter cutoff. Enter, holding Shift, turning it down, and let's see what we come up with. Let's actually turn it down a little. Let's go through the list, make that decay shorter. Okay, let's try a little bit on this filter cutoff. Let's see if we can make it a little bit more snappy. Now we are, okay, something like this. Now, wouldn't it be cool if I would now go in and say, yeah, come on this step I want this filter to be open, but on these other steps I want it to be down. Yeah, we can do this, but we would have to assign the filter parameter to this control knob again. And watch what happens when we do this. Let's quickly go into instrument play mode, and let's say Control Select, and I say I want the filter cutoff to be the parameter now. Now let's have a listen what happens now. So it takes the parameters from the control knob that we have set for our bit reduction here, but it replaces the bit reduction. So I can select a new parameter on this knob, but it's not that it will keep the parameter running in the background. So I can switch back and forth. This is not working. And this is a very big issue in terms of sound design when it comes to parameter locking, and also when we record this live. And this is a little bit of an issue. So if I want this to be open right here, or let's say down right here, and I want this to be a little bit more open, like this, it would sound like this. And on this one, I have to do it again. Yeah, it's really an issue because now our bit reduction is gone. Let's select the bit reduction again and you can hear the difference. Okay. We couldn't hear the difference because this parameter only goes up to 12 while the filter goes up to 255. Yeah, so this is really an issue, and yeah, one can say, okay, I have to make the sound on the TR-8S. I therefore have to shape the sound exactly the way I want, so that there's only one single parameter left that helps me shaping it inside the sequencer the way I like it. I cannot do it like I can do it on the Digitakt right here, where I can have all these different parameters assigned, all these different changes right here. This is a little bit nasty. But well, that's just the way it goes. Further, in terms of sound design, we also have our Master FX. This is something we do not have on the Digitakt. And this is actually quite cool. By default, I think we have a high pass filter inside. Yeah, this is how we do it. There's a high pass filter inside. And I just turn it on. And I can do something like this. Yeah. Quick performance thing. Same with the fill-ins here. Now, this is something we do not have on the Digitakt. This is why I don't want to actually cover this right now. But when it comes to sound design, we do have a little bit more in terms of effects. Now let's just recap this real quick. On the Digitakt, basically the only effect that we have, there are two effects inside the Digitakt per track, and these are the bit reduction right here. This is the bit reduction, and on the amp page, the overdrive. And these are fixed, so we cannot change these. These are fixed. Not so on the TR-8S. When we have that sound, we go to Instrument Edit, Edit again. We can scroll through the list, and right at the back here we have Instrument Insert, FX. So each track can have several different insert effects. And we select these by hitting Enter and scroll through the list. So we have a high pass filter, another one, another low pass filter, low pass, high pass. Combination, high boost, low boost, LH boost, whatever. An isolator, transient shaper, compressor, drive, compressor plus drive, bit crusher, and these are the things that we have per track. So when we hit play, for example, we can bring in that crusher, and now inside that list I have a balance parameter, which is basically my mix knob. And the filter, and that's it. For the crusher, I can select another one like the compressor or the transient shaper or the isolator, and you can see lots of parameters inside of this one. This is a low boost, a high boost. Actually, some additional stuff that we do not have on the Digitakt. Now, the drive, which is actually another overdrive where we can select different things. This has a high pass and a low pass filter, or high pass and a low pass EQ. We can determine the frequencies of this. But yeah, obviously we need a signal where we can hear this. Yeah, on the Digitakt we do not have these things. On the Digitakt we have our simple overdrive right here on this track. Just dialing it in and everything. And on these things, on the TR-8S, we have at least some additional effects that we can do. But the thing is, if we go out of this menu and want to assign these parameters to the knobs, oops, that was wrong. Let's see. Going through the list right here, and let's see if we can find them. And you can see, no, we do not find them. So we have additional insert effects for these tracks, but we cannot control their values via this control knob. So whatever we set on these is again always fixed and cannot be automated. But yeah. In addition to that, we also have these master effects, and this is similar to the Digitakt. So we have the reverb setting on the Digitakt right here with let's see, let's just go bring this reverb in. So in that respect, these two machines are relatively similar because we have almost the same thing, almost the same features. We activate these things up here. So these are always there. These are the send effects, and the send level for these individual tracks is configured in their instrument section. And when we hit play and turn the reverb up, it's affecting each and every track, because by default each and every track on the TR-8S has the reverb as well as the delay send turned completely up. We can easily fix that by going into the menus, into the settings for the track, and right here somewhere we have reverb send as well as delay send, and we hit enter, hit the shift function, shift button, and we can do this on each and every track. Now we can click on this one, turn it down, on this one, turn it down, and so on and so forth. Same for the delay send, and here we go. So now there's nothing inside, so no reverb at all, and that's the way I would love it to have it by default. But anyway, now we can turn this thing in, and as for the reverb, we go to our kit setting, because the reverb as well as the delay, these are global and they are configured inside the kit. So here we have our reverb, and we have different variants of this thing. This is unlike the Digitakt, where we have one reverb mode. On the TR-8S we can have different ones. Let's have a listen. There's an ambient kind of thing. Hall 1, Hall 2. Hall 2 seems a little bit brighter. When we have a plate reverb and some sort of a mod reverb. Let's choose the ambience first, and let's see what parameters we have. We have our time. You can see this is a little bit of a shorter reverb, and it sounds actually pretty neat. It sounds a little bit metallic, to be honest. Let's see. Here's our pre-delay, like we have it right here. Low cut, like we have it right here. High cut, same here. This is low cut for the high pass frequency, and this is high cut. And this is the same here, low cut and high cut. Density is quite interesting. Let's have a listen. This changes the sound of the reverb a little bit. And this is actually quite cool. It sounds pretty neat on I think the plate reverb. We will have a listen to that in a moment. But let's choose another. Let's choose different modes now. This is a classic room reverb. Generally not the longest. Yeah. Let's quickly mute these. You can see once we turn this density down, it is a little bit somehow like some short delays coming through without any kind of washing. Whatever. Check another reverb. You hear this? And that's the plate. So on plate and these halls it can easily be heard. Yeah, nice one. But anyway, let's see. And this mod reverb doesn't have any additional parameters. So yeah, that's just a quick overview. So these are the reverb types, and this is different to the Digitakt. On the Digitakt we only have one reverb, a very, very awesome reverb, by the way, but we only have one. And we have our low cut, this high pass filter for our low cut, and the high cut, our low pass filter. Same on this reverb. On the Digitakt, however, we also have a shelving filter. Yeah, this allows us to, this basically allows us to shape our reverb sound a little bit further. So we can make a pretty dark reverb, pretty high, and shape these bass or high frequencies further with a low cut and a high cut if we wanted to. I mean, in terms of quality, seems that these reverbs are also a little bit different. But I think I would need something that has a little bit more low end inside. So let's take that. The snare does also not have a lot of low end. So let's bring the kick in and let's give that kick. Yeah, come on, let's give this kick a little bit of a reverb sound as well, just for. Just so that we have a little bit of a low end. You can see, or here, is our low cut. You can also make this. Yeah, we have different sounds on both machines, so it's hard to compare them, but I think that the TR-8S reverb algorithms are also pretty neat, to be honest. They can sound very full as well. So at least the quality on that side seems to be okay. Yeah, and for the delay it's basically the same. We have different delay settings. We have different delay types, and let's see. We have delay, pan, tape, echo, 3 types. These things are actually stereo panning delays. Let's have a listen. Let's go to this track and let's bring its delay send in. Yeah, I don't want to go too deep into all of these things because I think I may do a video about these things on the TR-8S specifically, kind of like a review, 30-day review or something, once I get a little bit more into it. But yeah, these are the basic things actually, and when it comes to the pattern length, the machines are also a little bit different in that we do have these kind of variations here. And on the Digitakt we can just let's go out of this menu here. On the Digitakt we hit function and page, and we can extend our pattern length to 64 steps. And now these individual tracks are all copied along. As you can see. And I can go into our grid edit mode and select these individual pattern pages, so I can edit them right away. But they are always played one after the other, no matter what I do. So where I always played along. On the TR-8S, this is also different again. Let's go to TR-Rec. I have this variation active at the moment. And if I go on to this variation, there's nothing inside. So I have to copy these variations to their destinations first. And I do this by holding copy, variation 1, B, C, D, and also E, F, G, H. And now I have these everywhere. To make them play in a row, I simply hold one variation and tap the others. Now they are played along, and this is actually quite nice because now I have, as you can see, I have not just 64 steps but 128. If I want to see the variation from this side, I have 128 steps right here. If I want to edit them, I can hold TR-Rec and click on this thing, and now I can edit the sequence, have the rest running, just whatever I like, you know. So you see, that's how it's working. If I tap a variation without keeping TR-Rec pressed before, I will actually deactivate that variation chain again. So I click on this one, just like this, because I'm lazy and don't want to keep this button pressed, and now I'm only playing this one. And this is not so bad because I can listen to one part of the pattern, to one bar of the pattern, so to say, and just make that the way I like until I'm happy. And so let's say I want this thing to be a little bit at the very end, to have a little variation, so I can just tap this one and listen to it. And when I think it's okay, I do this. See, so that's actually, we have two ways of doing it on the TR-8S. We can edit them while keeping the pattern continuously running, or we can focus individually on these things and just activate the chain again. Now on the Digitakt we cannot do this. So we always have to go into grid edit and we have to make it like this. Whenever I hit stop and everything, you can see it always starts from the beginning. So I do not have the option to select one individual bar and just play this very bar. This is not possible on the Digitakt, but it is possible on the TR-8S, and I do quite like it because one can get used to this kind of workflow. Yeah. Now other sequencer features, parameter locks, I said before, they are there. If I want to record stuff in real time, I just hit record and do things like this. So that's basically it, you know. Also interesting, I can activate and deactivate the motion sequences. And it keeps it keeps the value that that it has received last on a single track. So it can, when I turn this on and off again, it can sound different. So if you want to do this precisely, I would probably not recommend turning the motion off once you have something inside that you were happy with. Yeah. Okay. And on the Digitakt, it basically works in a similar way, but we hit this play button, this record button, and play. And now we have an unquantized live recording, which allows us to change whatever we have. Yeah, it's hard to hear do it here. Let me see, depending on where we are. And the Digitakt can, since it's an Elektron machine, it does only understand parameter logs. It does not understand motion sequences or something. So whatever we've changed in between gets these trickless tricks. And yeah, that's just the way it goes. So that's basically the difference. We do not have these trickless tricks or something like this on the TR-8S. It's a little bit easier, but I must admit, all in all, I quite like this thing, and I will go a bit further into this thing and see if I can do kind of like a 30-day review or something, because it's really, really, really nice for what it is, but yeah, it has a little bit of a drawback, and this is something I want to show you real quick, and that's actually the sample memory. Now under Optimize, we can see how much space we have and how space we have left and how much samples are fragmented or whatever. We can click on this thing and can optimize this, and now it's executing and doing something to the samples. I haven't moved into this thing just yet, so I don't really exactly know what happens here. I just keep it executed, and that's it. And another thing is sample loading times are also quite high, so it takes a while to get these samples inside into the project, loaded into the project. And on the Digitakt, as we've seen before, this is really fast. I don't know, let's say I have 4 of these samples. They are, I don't know, 400 kilobytes or I don't know. Yeah, anyway, just these samples, and or let's actually take the adlib, which is 790 kilobyte, as well as the evil brass and these index strings, 1.5 megabyte. And if I hit load to, you can see it's quite fast. This is amazingly fast on the Digitakt, and not so on the TR-8S. I can't really show you this at the moment because I have all these samples inside already. And but trust me, it takes quite a long time. And also, I have 17% free that I can load to the internal memory. Only 17% free, and guess what, guys? The samples that I've loaded to the TR-8S, they are just, I don't know, these were just 25 megabytes or something like this. So I can have although I can have an SD card inside this thing, which is like 128 gigabytes or something, I have to actually load these samples to the memory, and I'm left with like 25 megabytes or maybe, I don't know, 30 or 40 megabytes or something like that. So the space inside the machine when it's loaded so that you can actually use it is very, 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 very limited. Now, people complaining about the Digitakt, try it on the TR-8S and you will see what limitations really mean, you know. Because on the Digitakt, as you can see, we can check our storage, and we have like, I don't know, 15 samples loaded and everything. And on the plus drive, well, yeah, the RAM has 60 MB and 6% are still over, just 6%. And yeah, but I will go a little bit deeper into these kind of things and see if it's just my problem that I don't have so much space left, that I have to, maybe I should have to do something in addition to that, so that these samples are a little bit more efficient. Because on the Digitakt, with the transfer app, the samples are actually converted to a format. So not just that they are converted to mono, but they are also converted to some kind of a Elektron specific format. Maybe this is why it is a bit more efficient here and not so efficient here. I will go a little bit more into these things and try these things out to find out if this is the case. But anyway, yeah, that's basically the quick overview of these things. And cool thing about the TR-8S, which is also different to the Digitakt, I have to admit, is that each and every channel on the TR-8S is stereo. And they do have their individual outputs on the back side, so I can just say that I want, let's quickly take the kick drum here. Let's go to instrument. Oops. No, it's not in the instrument, it's inside the kit. I don't even think that it's inside the kit. Let's see. Also here, these sidechain things are something that I have to try out first. Yeah, so here we have it. So I take like, no, this is not working. So let's take the bass drum and I'm on the bass drum, snare drum, yeah. Let's take the bass drum and I can send it to assign 1, 3, 6. Assign A and B, C. These are the outputs on the back of the unit, and these are also the USB outputs, because what you may have noticed, I have the Digitakt hooked up to the TR-8S and I only have a USB cable connected, and this is because the TR-8S works as a sound card inside your computer, and it has all these individual outputs that you have on the background as well as the input available for you to grab inside the DAW. Now currently I'm only grabbing the main out, so I don't know how latency behaves when I take all of these, and I'm also not so keen on trying this out just yet. But if you were after these kinds of things, and if all of you guys who are ranting about Overbridge not being available for the Digitakt yet and everything, and not being able to record all these individual channels, all these individual tracks on the TR-8S, this is already working. But it's just an audio interface, so we do not have any kind of plugin or anything to control these things further. Okay, so that's about it, I would say, and I will see you in my next videos. Bye!